Hello and welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow's Season 11. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, we are focusing on female participation in the labour workforce, what is encouraging more women to join and stay in the workforce, what female mentorship looks like, and so much more by bringing you case studies of what's happening in India Inc. today as we speak. Three of India's foremost leaders joining us on the show tonight. Let me quickly introduce them. Haani Khorakiwala, Director Nandi Seeds Tehmina Khandwala, Chairperson FICCI Flo, Mumbai Chapter. Laxmi Iyer, CEO Kotak Investment Advisors. Laxmi, Haani, Tehmina, thank you so much for joining us here to really talk about women in the labour force, what we can as women in positions of power do to encourage more women in the labour force. And my first question to you really, and maybe I can come to you, Laxmi, on this and ask you, 2020, it came with its own set of challenges for people in the workplace, anyone who was working, not just women. 2021, 22 saw a lot of people leaving the workplace because of a multitude of challenges, and more number of women seem to have been impacted by the job losses in 2020. Data shows that more number of women seems to have quit in 2021, 2022. We're at the beginning of 2023 really, and it's incredible that already so many months of the year have gone past. What can we do differently in 2023? If we want to ensure that we are retaining women in the workplace, what should we be doing differently?
Hi Sunanda, this is a very, very relevant, very topical question, and this seems to be going on for many, many years. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be a 2020 or a 2023 phenomena. But I hear you, because the last couple of years, or I would say specifically the last 2.5 years, is the phase where India and of course the globe is actually moving out of this massive pandemic phase. And in the pandemic, what we've seen is some of the habits which were created, good, bad, ugly is a debatable thing, that continues as a mainstay. For example, the comfort of being in the four corners of your house, and again, I'm not trying to talk about any specific role, that has clearly led to some of the change in mindset. Some of the comfort factor has gone up. Some of them have decided consciously to give up on their careers because they realize that this ecosystem probably needs them more. So I think it's a mixed breed which has happened. I would say as being at the helm of a role in my organization, the sense is to try get back more the merrier, I would say, and of course there has to be a method to the madness. So for example, at Kotak there is formal mechanisms where we try to mentor especially the mid-level women and constantly try to do a holistic planning for them, including trying to work for, solve for some of the infrastructure related issues to ensure that, when you look at the women in workforce, it's always an inverted pyramid. So you actually see the bottom, there is this entire V line, you see a lot of aspiring women want to make it right up there. But as you go like this, the funnel actually gets inverted. Yeah. So I think that's what we need to solve for. And I think that's a desperate need of the hour, specifically I would say in financial services. Sure. Where it's a mindset that, oh, this is such a high pressure, sort of a job, or this is so number driven, analytics driven, so it's not for me. So I think while it's true for quite a few sectors and segments, specifically I would say for financial services, it does assume a lot of significance.
A lot of interesting points. I'm going to come back to you on that, but I also want to give Haani the chance to respond. How should we be doing things differently in 2023, given that you're also working in geographies that have their own set of challenges, and then you're speaking to a set of employees then who perhaps are at a disadvantage in some sense?
Yeah, so definitely for women in the rural sector, It is a lot harder, and I will say one thing, and to what Laxmi said as well, at all levels, whether you're in an urban scenario or in rural India, women have to advocate for themselves. If as a woman, if you are a mentor, you are also trying to shatter that glass ceiling. So there is ambitious girls, ambitious women need to constantly, find their own path and advocate for themselves. So mentorship is wonderful, but everyone in their career is trying to make their own path at the end of the day. In rural India specifically, and I spoke with you about this earlier, is that if you really want change to come about, where women are actively as entrepreneurial as in the urban setting, we need the government to have laws that allow for ownership, laws that allow for technology that is oriented towards women, training centers, training modules that not just train the women, but perhaps their families also, so that when they are out in the work field, they have a support system for them at home.
Tehmina, you head an organization that champions the cause of women. You head the Mumbai chapter of FICCI Flo. Give us some examples of how FICCI Flo is really ensuring that you're giving the women entrepreneurs who are part of your network the platform, the voice, and the chance to be heard, like Haani was saying.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. Yeah. And yes, FICCI Flo is a great advocate for women entrepreneurs, and we do a lot. Not only we do it right from the grassroots level to the board level. And we create a lot of programs and workshops where we help the women add a lot of value to whatever they have, like whether it's financial literacy or whether it is hand holding right from the ideation to financial to setting up the business, to also mentoring them.
You raised an important point, and you were talking about financial literacy, and it's a question. Maybe Laxmi, I can come back to you on this one. We run a segment here on the Leaders of Tomorrow where we are talking about the importance of personal and professional finance and wealth for entrepreneurs, of course. But so many women reach out to us and say that, how do I start taking charge of my own finance? Because right now my father's been doing a great job before I got married, so I didn't get involved. Now my husband is doing it. It's a comfort level. Why should I get involved? Do you see that often?
One point I just want to make, that as I was going through this entire year, I just found that women always shy away from financial responsibilities or even financial literacy, I would say. They would like to put it on to somebody else. They themselves don't want to take it up for whatever reason. What is the reason? Is something I think the numbers scare them, or maybe they feel that finance is not for me, it was for somebody else.
And we have someone who's not scared of numbers.
So math incidentally happened to be my first love since school, and then I had multiple other loves in the form of my job and then my spouse. But I think this
in question that order.
In that order, yes. So if you Google the top chefs in the country, the top 3 are not women. Okay. If you Google top sports person, the top 5 you have women. What I'm trying to suggest to this is that finance, knowledge of finance is gender agnostic. It is intimidating, but so is every other thing which you've never done before. For somebody who fears heights, skydiving is clearly a mental block, and for somebody who is having water phobia, swimming is a big no-no. But till the time you don't get into it, you don't really understand the depth of it, and it is imperative that every woman has to take charge of her finance. And this is something which I have been extremely passionate about and talking about it at every forum. And the good news is that from where we were maybe about 5, 7, 10 years back to where we are today, there is significant I would say understanding, and we've really upped the curve. And equally important is that the awareness quotient has improved.
Your top 2 or 3 asks in terms of government support when it comes to women-led businesses, women organizations, funding coming into businesses, what more needs to be done?
First of all, the government is doing also, there are a lot of programs running, simultaneously. But the thing is that many women are not aware of what is happening. So as FICCI Flo, we are also trying to get that information or get women to become aware of what is available to you. So I think once they know what is available to them, even then that becomes the first step, of what they can actually help themselves or help them to move further. And as you also said that what more can we do? I mean, there is a lot that a government can do, that for the women, especially they can make it much easier, like women do not have easy access to loans. We can try and put that forward and
But you do have government schemes that are.
Yeah, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I think we can definitely, and I think Laxmi would be the best person to talk on like how we can procure loans for women. That is the first thing that they all require when they start a business.
I'm going to take a quick break. On that note, we are back in just a moment. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and you're watching this very special Women's Day series. Haani, you also have a very unique perspective when it comes to the role that the government should be playing when it comes to especially small business and small female entrepreneurs.
So, I travel extensively in rural India, and what I see is that there is so much participation, far more in rural India in the workforce than perhaps in urban India. Here in urban India, roles are far more gender defined also. But in rural India, especially in the farming community, the women are as up and about as the men. I think where there could be a good private-public partnership is companies such as mine, and others that are involved in rural India. We adopt small schools, small centers, small training centers, but it has to be with the government support. It cannot be done standalone. It's much harder to do it standalone. Have the government support us in a public-private partnership. We take on training programs for women, and in the training programs, we even call the families to participate, and kind of we do a sensitivity program.
I think it's all about partnerships, and I completely echo and resonate this view that it has to be someone's priority, and when it is someone's priority, then he or she will be the key driving force to ensure that these partnerships do occur.
One of the since we're speaking about the government, one of the things we must discuss, and we were again discussing this offline, is the fact that India is one of the most progressive maternity leave laws. But for small businesses, that could perhaps ensure that they're not hiring as many women as they should be. Let me come back to you, Laxmi, on this. Do you feel, with some sense, it's a stumbling block? And I would love for you to add to that as well.
No, so I would say that there is, that kind of, I would say, cooling period that a working woman, when she is on her maternity break, to be able to bond with the newborn, to be able to make she or he comfortable before you come back to the workforce. The perception, unfortunately, is, and again, this is very, very role specific, is that if you are out of action for say 2 quarters, 3 quarters, sometimes it could be even 4 quarters, then maybe the relevance of you being in that business or in that role may not be very high. That also could be one of the reasons why you see women take a break, a mid-career break as they call it, and then that break becomes a complete or a permanent break. So I think I would say, instead of generalizing, it is pretty role, I would say, specific. I have been all along in money management, and I don't, and the disclaimer here is I don't urge women to necessarily follow that. But while my organization, and I'm talking about back in 2005, did have a very, very comfortable maternity policy, I got back to work in 30 days, under 30 days, because that's my type. I'm not, again, as I was saying, so it's very, very specific, it's very, very individual, very subjective. But I think these days, workplace, do they make the facility, or do they make this as a facility available to ease these mothers or working mothers to create that ecosystem around you? The answer is yes. And it's getting much better.
That's encouraging.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you feel there are, it's getting better? Do we see, perhaps more understanding on why a rule and a law was necessary in the first place to ensure there are more women coming on board? And some detractors say that there aren't enough qualified senior women in positions of power to appoint on boards. What would you have to say to that?
You can't, this is such a great thing the government has done, is actually be proactive, right? If there aren't enough women that are qualified, there will be very soon. And it's great that we already have this rule, so the ones that are qualified have a lot more, they're being usefully, appointed to boards and such. So yes, it is good that we have rules, and I don't like the word reservation per se, but things that encourage women to step out of the home, that build confidence, that provide a system or provide an infrastructure for them to really leave their comfort zone. And if the government needs to provide that, then so be it. I think a lot of onus falls on private companies, whether they are small or large. If you understand the ethos that a woman can bring to your organization, then you need to step up.
Sure.
And who better to do that than women who are already in those positions, entrepreneurs, women on boards, and so on.
Okay, since we're talking of female entrepreneurs, and Laxmi, question to you, are you in favor of having women-run funds, PE, VC, etc., which are investing in women-run businesses? Do you think that is necessary, and it's the need of the hour, because the funding that's going into women-led businesses is abysmal?
See, my own thoughts have been that any profession, including entrepreneurship, is gender agnostic. So if you have it,
which is the utopian view.
Yeah, but I still, maintain that, and now it's finding more takers. But yes, to be able to recognize a set of deserving set, maybe they are the unsung heroes, as I would call it, of their profession. If there is a facility which is being, I would say, invoked, there's nothing wrong in it. It's a niche concept, but yes, that is also picking up. So as I said, there's nothing right or wrong about it, but it is, I would say, a great enabler, a great source of empowerment for somebody who wants to make it big and probably has inhibitions that would a fundraiser be a showstopper. So yes, here is it's available. So yeah, the more the merrier. Why not?
Sure. Let me take also at this point, get a personal view from the three of you ladies, and really ask for you to talk to our viewers about perhaps what your own professional and personal journey has been like, and maybe any challenges that you faced along the way that you can use as an anecdote to say, this is how I turned it around and this is how I've made it a strength in my professional journey. Haani, maybe I come to you first.
Look, I went to a competitive school, which meant if I was going to be anything or anybody, I had to compete with the boys. So we got competitive jobs, and that's where my career began. I do come from a family, I have a family business, but I joined that after years of working, in related industries. So, I mean, I think, and I think I mentioned this, if you want to be in business, you're just a person in business. You're not a woman, you're just a person in business, and you got to be the best you can be, and you got to compete with whoever else is for that job. Yes, because I come from a family business. It was the doors that were swung open for me, and I come from an encouraging family, which I've always said, for a woman, you have a good supportive husband and a good supportive family background makes a big difference. I can't really think of. I'll tell you one thing. When I had my first kid, I took a year off. And I thought that was the right thing to do. And then with my second one, I was working from the hospital.
Wow.
So, it really just is where you are at your own stage and own evolution. But it's nice to have companies and people who support you and support your choices.
Okay. Tehmina, any global best examples, while you talk about your personal and professional journey, and if you can add to that saying, best examples that are happening perhaps across the world that you feel it's imperative that we implement in India?
When the family was young and when they needed me, I was there at home, and I started very small. And then as I got the luxury of time, I started moving slowly and slowly. and then just build it up that way. So I feel when you want to do it, you definitely can balance both the family responsibilities as well as your career. It's just the way how you balance the entire thing is, I think, the key to. And yes, we have so many examples that way. We have Falguni Iyer of Nykaa who kind of just gave up everything, her corporate career, to be with her family. But then she came back, and she came back how? And today she's is on the top of her career. So yeah, we have a lot of these kind of examples that we can give as how we can actually do it at any point of time.
Okay, and that's definitely, her story is definitely inspiring.
Yeah.
I want you to respond to that same question, Laxmi, and also as we are ending tonight's panel, I would like for you to also add to that answer by saying one piece of advice that you want to leave our entrepreneurs with.
Sure. So firstly, being part of the financial services, I've been with Kotak now for over 2 decades, and all along in money management. This is predominantly, even as we speak, is predominantly male dominated. So to find your footing obviously requires some meat. So you really need to have your substance in terms of the content, and you need to have command over it. and does it demotivate you? Well, it depends on how strong-willed you are. Fortunately for me, I grew up in a middle-class South Indian background. Where we are, I have an elder sister. So for us, for my parents, we were the sons and we were the daughters. So we've grown all along, and therefore that's how my mind has been conditioned. So for me, it was never say never, and take each challenge and convert it into opportunity. So I would say through the years, maybe through 22 years plus, it's not been a bed of roses, but yeah, it's been a wonderful roller coaster, because markets are amusing, people are equally amusing. So it's just like a mixed bag, and you have to take it all. And my message to all the audience, and I'm very inspired by this movie, and I'm a foodie and I'm a filmy also. There's this movie Gunjan Saxena, the Kargil girl, and there's an amazing dialogue which says that जब plane को फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसे कौन उड़ा रहा है तो तुम्हें क्यों फर्क पड़ता है. So I think that's my message, that it doesn't matter. It is about what you are passionate about and what you want to excel in. Just go for it.
Lovely. Haani, do you have any advice that you want to leave our viewers with?
Just, stop thinking of yourself as a woman, as a girl, but just someone who gets the job done.
Sure.
And I think that should be solid advice.
So I just feel that women today are in a very good space where the Indian mindset is completely in the process of changing, I would say. So I think just take advantage of that, and today women are more independent and confident thinkers, and they can do anything that they want.
Ladies, thank you so much for this very engaging conversation. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Out of time on tonight's conversation, but if you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.